Hello, my name's Twisty. I'm one of the promoters here at ViSCA. We often get asked for advice on what tunes to use, what lines to go for, what times to aim for around most of the tracks we use here at ViSCA. So this video will hopefully help out those newer drivers and maybe some of them older drivers who are looking to improve on their times into the 2022 season. So the first track on our list is of course Kingston Raceway. Lap times wise, whites are hitting 16.9, superstars are hitting 16.2s. Obviously you're not going to hit those super fast times every time you go around the track, but that's what you want to be aiming for at the top end of the speed. If you can be aiming for maybe a 16.4, 16.5 every lap, then you're going to be doing pretty well around this track. So here's our ViSCA coloured F1 stock car, lovely pink bars and purple car itself. And first lap, we're just trying to get round and get them tyres warmed up. So into the second lap, what you're going to see the driver try and do here is stick the front of the nose into the corner and then power it round with the back end. You can see the front end going in, bit of braking, and the arse end sits out nicely, bit of power on, and you'll notice the gears never change, staying in third gear, and that's obviously helping the driver having to do less gear changes. That first fast lap that they did was a 16.4, that's not bad at all. Just keeping it really smooth. The smoother you can keep it, the better. And that's going to give you a 16.2 there on that lap number 3. One important thing to mention around this track, don't get too close to this barrier down the back straight. There is bits that stick out. It will kick you out into the middle of the track and facing the wrong way. So that's Kingston done and dusted. So moving on to the second track here, Big Valley Inner Oval. Not one of my favourites personally. You're aiming for a 16.3 as a white, 15.8. Some of the superstars maybe getting a 15.7 if they're really quick. One thing to mention on that screen you saw there, you did notice maybe that I had the traction set at half. That was a slight mistake on my part. So as you can see from all the other tracks that we're going to visit, that is not my normal setting. But as you can see from this run that we do here, it's going to work. Now, with Big Valley Inner Oval, there's a bit of a line that you can follow. So going into this first corner, we're going to try and get the car fully into that dark line that you can see that's about a car's width. Obviously easing out of it into this back straight. Then on the final corner, we're just going to try and get the front tyre quite close to it. Now, I've not done a good job of that there, and that will translate in the lap time that will come up as a 16.3. So again, car fully in the black bit there, maybe a little bit too tight on that exit. Coming into the final corner, let's see if we do a better job, and this is looking like a better job, although maybe I've got a bit too close. Not one of my favourite tracks in a oval, but that should give us a 15.9, so there you go. Now, one thing we didn't mention around Kingston, but it's true for Kingston and any track, maybe you want to try dabbling with the handbrake going into corners. It takes a bit of mastery, but that does help getting the arse end out, and that's Big Valley Inner Oval off our list. Okay, so on to everyone's favourite track, Mudford Oval. White tops, you want to be hitting around 13.8, 13.9. Superstars are going to be going towards 13.2s, 13.3s. But the key with Mudford is not your fastest lap, it is consistency. And as I always say on streams, if you can get 15 laps together around this track without going over that banking, you're going to be in the top 5 every time. That even includes A-finals, if we're being honest. But what you're going to see the driver try and do here is try and stay as high up that banking as he can on the last turn. The first turn's a little bit of a lottery. That little jump you saw going in there, that can send you absolutely anywhere. But again, this last corner, a little bit more flat out around here. You can maybe even, when you get into the real rhythm of this track, you can send it flat out around that last corner. That's not a bad first corner there. If it can just take a nice wide line on this final corner, then this could be a 13.3. Possibly lost a little bit of speed there, which is a shame, and that's why it's a 13.4. So yeah, as you can see, this track, all about consistency, nothing flamboyant, just keep the car on the dirt. So up next we've got Tribend Raceway. White tops want to be aiming for a 20.6, superstars a 20.0. We have seen the odd 19.9, doesn't happen very often, but you do get it. Now, Tribend is one of my personal favourites, mainly because it's unlike the other tracks that we race here at ViSCA. You've got to do a bit of gear shifting around this track. Now, you don't want to be using manual with clutch. Okay, so the gain from it isn't really worth the effort, especially if you get the shifting wrong. So stick with manual or automatic. No, I wouldn't go for automatic. No, definitely manual you want to be sticking with. So as you can see, we've got this sharp corner coming up. The idea is to get, again, the nose into the corner and use the camber on the corner to launch yourself out with speed. Now, if you get that right, that is going to be the difference between a 20.3 and a 20.0. If you get it wrong, you're going to end up in the crowd. So you've got to get that right, and you can see there he's got a 20.4. This one looks a little bit neater. Now the final corner, you want to get in fairly tight, but you need to stay on the tarmac. No point going on the grass, and most of the faster drivers will take a high line there and tuck back in tight as they come out of that corner. It's not as important that, and what is important is keeping your speed up more than anything. And obviously in a real race, you're going to have cars left and right of you. One thing you do want to do, stay off them red barriers. They will somersault you, and that will gain you 0 points. So yeah, stay away from them red barriers. This should be a 20.1. So on to another one of my favourite tracks, Big Valley Outer Oval Raceway. We don't use this one enough in my opinion, but we might use it a bit more in the upcoming season. So white tops want to be aiming for a 20.2. Red top superstars you want to be aiming for 19.7s/8s. Anything around there is going to be good. The key with this track, as with any of the bigger tracks, is keeping your speed up. It's a long sweeping corner. What you'll tend to see some of the lower grade drivers do in races is they'll let a faster car through and then they'll try and dive back up the inside, and it feels faster for that brief moment of time where you're passing the superstar driver or the red top driver, but then you've got to get the speed off, and that's where that superstar driver or red top driver will either drive past you and away from you, or probably shove you into the wall on the next exit to the corner, obviously because they're carrying a lot more speed. Now, in terms of positioning on this track, first corner you want to be using the white line as a bit of a guide. Second corner you want to be staying lower on it. So as this is the first corner coming up here, we're getting close to that white line, maybe not quite on top of it, but close enough. And then the final corner you want to be a bit lower than it. So that's not a bad lap. We'll see what the lap time comes out as we come across the line. And it's going to be a 19.8, I think, if my eyesight's correct. Sat a little bit away from the screen now, watching the replay. But that's the sort of time you want to be aiming for, just keeping that speed up in third gear, nice and steady driving and smooth as possible. So on to another Marmite track here, Hilltop Oval Raceway. Again, we don't use this very often. White tops want to be aiming for around about 20.3. Reds and superstars should be hitting 19.8, but possibly not every single lap. Most laps maybe getting a 20.0 will be quick enough. Now, much like the last track we did, the Big Valley Outer Oval, this track's all about keeping that nice, smooth speed as you go around it, and just trying to keep that third gear revving at the top end as much as possible. The red strip you want to get close to on the corners, but it's a bit of a tricky one, that, because if you do get too close to it and end up in the wall, you're going to lose yourself a lot of time. Now, there is a little bit of wall riding sometimes on this track that can help, but it's hit and miss. Sometimes it spits you out and you end up facing the wrong way, so you want to stay away from that wall at all costs, really. But just keep nice, smooth line, up high, trying to keep that speed up as high as possible. A lot of the problems with tracks like this and the Outer Oval Loop comes with overtaking cars. Now, me personally, I will tend to sit behind someone and just let them make a mistake and try and keep on the fastest line. That's not always possible, and especially when you can see someone in front of them getting away and you're thinking, well, once I've passed these, I'm still going to catch them and pass them. So passing is tricky on tracks like this, but if you can get yourself doing a fast lap time, you can save the passing for the track, and that might even sort itself out. So I think he's going to do a 19.9 here, and that's the Hilltop Oval. So on to my least favourite track of the lot, Bloomfield Oval. And I think it's probably my least favourite because of how close everyone is on it. So you can see there from the lap times, White Top's doing 13.3s, Superstar's doing a 12.9s. There's not a lot of difference, and to try and catch up over 15 laps, that takes some doing around this track. Especially because, as with previous tracks that we've looked at, the lower grade drivers will just dive back up the inside because it feels like a faster lap, when in reality it's a slower lap. Now, we're going to have to be quick with this because these are very short laps, so it's all about trying to keep your car in the middle, really, middle to high of the corner, I'd say. So my driver here maybe getting a little bit too low, which is why the fastest is going to churn out to 13.0. But if you do manage to get a little bit higher, keep that speed up a little bit more, you will be dabbling with the 12.9s. It's just trial and error with this track. Just keep trying over and over and over again. You'll find your line, and then look at the draw in the races. Try and stay away from those heroes who will jump back on the inside of you on the next corner. So that's the main tracks that we use here at ViSCA and that we'll be using for the 2022 season. We might be using a couple of new ones, maybe a few guest tracks for the season. And if we do, and you are struggling for a tune or for the setups or the lines around the tracks, then don't hesitate to contact myself or one of the other ViSCA promoters. We are more than happy to help and try and get you up to speed. If you have enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. It does help get the video out there and get more people watching it, and maybe tell us which is your favourite track in the comments. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you on the track soon.